Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 4th of March, comes to you from London. I'm a bit later today, just coming up to 1 o'clock. Been out this morning on the road, and so let's take a look at markets. We're seeing here the dollar index. This is the medium-term daily chart, so we're thinking weeks ahead. Remember that we had this on the top of the charts and updates. So here I'm looking at the long-term weekly chart. And here we're waiting to see if we activate this upside target, but the downside target is really dominating on the longer term chart, as is on the medium term chart. And then on the 60-minute short term chart, we are seeing this above the cloud is bullish, but lower high, lower low. That is a classic Dow theory top pattern. Any one of you who's done my training course, the 12-hour online training course, will be fully aware of the importance of those patterns. And quite often you'll get a target on that first thrust off the top that's activated with the lower high. So that's really an aspect playing into how the targets work. So we're seeing the dollar is weaker today. It has been stronger, of course. If we look at sterling, it's up slightly against the dollar, and euro against the euro. Sterling is sitting at around this 115 range. Bitcoin is up 4%. That's really looks better on the short-term chart. We've broken that $70,000 level, but of course the medium-term chart, we have got work to do really to break out of this range. And normally, again, my training course, you'll know this, move into the pattern sideways, move out of the pattern in the same direction, another move here, sideways, move out. We might need Bitcoin to give us an upside push to generate a new downside target. That's how the targets work. So the NASDAQ has held up incredibly well given everything that's been going on in the Middle East, and we are seeing that we still haven't activated that downside target yet on the 60-minute chart. On the future, we did actually activate that with the close yesterday. So really quite interesting that has activated that downside target, remembering that the NASDAQ high was back in October. And if we look at the S&P future, no change yet today, but again, has really been running sideways for quite a few months now, so that's quite key. But we're seeing relief rallies across the board in Europe. The UK market up 0.8%. 0.8%. The DAX up 1.2, waiting to see if we activate this upside target. That's going to be really critical. And the shorter term chart often gives you a heads up. You can see here the pattern there where we've actually moved. We've gone down towards those targets, and then we've had the higher low, higher high. That's the thrust. That's activated the target. So it looks like we will see a bit of a recovery there. Looking at the energy mix, because obviously that's having a huge impact on the market, we went out as neutral to clients this morning. It was a really hard call. Markets were up, but we just felt that the market was neutral. We're seeing Brent crude up 0.3%, WTI down 0.3%, US nat gas down 2%, and we're seeing European gas down 8% and down 10.5% in the UK for UK gas. So that report out to clients this morning, we went neutral. It's just too hard to call with everything that's going on, and we are trading in ranges, and we cover that in our morning call for energy clients. Looking at Japan, that still is falling away there. We see here on the chart, we've really have reached those upside targets, then a new downside target kicked in, and we've fallen away quite sharply there. So that's quite interesting. And the Hang Seng also, these markets not really having the benefit of taking the US and Europe's direction. But interestingly, that 26,500 level on the Hang Seng, really critical there, has broken. India continued to fall, down 1.4%, down to those targets. You can't ignore the targets, they're there. And the Aussie market, having made new all-time highs recently, gave up very quickly the gain. We've activated an upside target, but we've fallen back below the cloud. This is the short-term 60-minute chart. The longer-term chart, it's just a blip. But interestingly, we're just seeing that a rethink there. Looking at some other commodities, sugar, $14 is the critical number for sugar. We're back below that. Downside targets there. Go to the short-term chart. Notice this upside target given and downside target given. Really, this is the days ahead when we're thinking this chart. Looking at gold, that's up 1.6% this morning, having had that lower high, lower low. There's the thrust target, and we've reached that target, exceeded it. We are back to below the cloud. That's bearish. Still bullish on the daily chart, of course, but interestingly, we're failing to make a new high, and that is a warning. And silver has had a really ragged time the last couple of days. It's recovered this morning, up 4%, but really, we're waiting for a new high to activate this new upside target. That would be more bullish. Taking a look at bond yields, they were pretty sanguine yesterday. We saw quite strong rises in yields, but this morning they're sitting steady. And the Mag 7, NVIDIA was down a further 1.3%. Interestingly, on NVIDIA, there's actually a bullish engulfing candle there. You can see that candle is engulfing, and you can actually search for these in Updata. It's not too difficult. You can just go for bearish engulfing and bullish engulfing, and you can see how well they've worked in the past. So this has just marked all the candles on, and you can see the bearish engulfing ones have worked really, really well. The bullish engulfing, not so well. So really quite interesting, but that is going to be very telling. Are we going to see a new upside move there? But we are really stuck in this 170, 195 range there for NVIDIA. So that's really quite key. Looking at the Dow, just looking at percentage changes yesterday, we had IBM up 2.5%, and you can see we've really fallen away there very quickly. That target was given, and we're below the cloud. So a lot of volatility in these markets. Caterpillar, which has been a star performer, was down 4%, but that really has not changed the nature of the chart. Train tracks to the upside, really quite interesting there. Looking at the NASDAQ, if we go just and mark the top and worst performers. This is the worst performer, Micron. This has been a real star in the NASDAQ 100. But interestingly, we're making that lower high. This level here, that's a Linton level, 363. That's really critical. We break below that, and that forms the lower low. That's a top pattern. So you've got to watch that. And of course, it will show up on the 60-minute chart first. And we can see how these targets are actually really just, we're seeing that below the cloud, but that level we talked about is really quite key. So if you're still in some of these tech stocks, you just need to watch for these downside targets. Last of all, let's look at the FTSE list, and we go back to just the medium-term chart, which I've got here. You can download this this same template that I'm using, this layout and workspace in Updata, so that you can do the same thing each day. Downside here is really quite strong. Tesco, that's an interesting one. We're seeing retailers having a better day today. Tesco needs to move above 500 this is 500 pence, £5, to activate a big upside target. That will turn from orange to green. So that's really quite key. And we can look at other retailers, and we can see that that's a completely different picture there for M&S. And we could just go through the charts. It's really quite interesting when you do that. And so just take your pick, really. AB Food up 1%. Downside target there, potentially waiting to activate off that big sell-off. That gap down has produced that target. So it is a bearish chart below the cloud. Banks have been weak lately, just in the last few days, seeing some strength coming back. But again, we have to watch. NatWest may activate a downside target there. And if we go the other way, you can see the chart for BP breaking to new highs. Remembering that you can pick any chart you like and just hit the T key, and it will put the targets on, all rules based. Give it a go. Until tomorrow, happy charting. Bye for now.